yesterday as a result of two top qualifying efforts by both Fraser Ross and his teammate Ryan Simpson. The beautiful McLaren 720S GT3 takes pole position alongside Peter Hackett with Dom Story. Of course, they are former endurance champions here for the CAMS Australian GT Championship. Jeff Emery and Garth Tander on row 2, Yasser Shahin and Jamie Whincup. Max Twigg and Tony D'Alberto, they're the reigning endurance champions on row 3, alongside Tony Quinn and Dan Gaunt. Then back to Tony Bates, who was a winner last year here 12 months ago in the Audi alongside Gaunt. This time round with John Martin, Adrian Dietz, Cameron McConville, Scotty Taylor and Craig Baird, and Vince Meridia and Luke Youlden.
3 hours of racing here at the island.
We get to the line and we are underway. It's a drag race down the long main straight down to turn 1. Cold tyres, they'll be aware of that. They don't need to be doing anything silly, but it's a good chance to make up a little bit of ground off the line. Let's watch them as they dive down to Southern Loop. Looks like the McLaren has held that advantage. No, in fact, it is the 63 Mercedes. The Eggleston Motorsport machine has taken the top spot. That's a great start by Hackett and Story. They'll be right in this. Great to see Tony Quinn back and excited about his racing again, and Dan Gaunt really pushing that Aston Martin very hard. Oh, gee, the Aston's looking very, very racy. Scotty Taylor in the blue entry. Kenny Habul took that car to 2 victories out of the 4 races at the season opening Australian GT race at the Australian Grand Prix. So too the Bates entry. Looking forward to making up some ground. Tony Bates and Yasser Shahin last weekend in Shanghai. Very different circuit, very different conditions to here.
Jeff Emery got the left rear on the grass on the top of Lukey Heights on the rundown. MG managed to get away. He was comfortable before that little wiggle, but now he's got them all lining up. Shahin's right with him. The Lambo's moving. Cameron McConville is on board. That car is sharing with Adrian Dietz, so he's been able to work that way forward. Started position 8, now runs position 5. He's going to make ground. So a pro driver up against some of the AMs. They've flipped the way that they're going to do their strategy in terms of their driver lineup. But we're watching here the top 2.
Here's this great fight for GT4.
These cars will be together pretty much all day at this rate. Identical KTM crossbows. A replay, Sean, and it's already off the track and on its way into the fence.
That's an unusual off and an unusual part of the circuit.
The red flag is out. The race is stopped and suspended with the cars forming up in a single line here on the pit straight with the leader of the race, the car number 63 Mercedes-Benz with Dominic Story at the wheel.
We decided to opt for me to start the race because we didn't think there would be a safety car. So yeah, it's not ideal at the moment, but you know, it's just GT racing. It'll all play out in the end. So just got to focus on getting a bit more of a lead again, and then hand over to Pete for the middle stint of the race.
This sort of works for you guys, having Yasser in the car at the start, chewing up a bit of race time before you get in?
That's always the risk when you start your pro, is if you get a safety car or what we're having now, it's a disadvantage. So no, as I said, strategy-wise, we're in a good place. We'll pit for fuel and tyres pretty soon, and I'll jump in and see what I can do.
The red flags have been removed. The yellow flags are now out. The safety car now leaving the pit straight, and Dom's Story, car 63, is still on the Gardner Straight. The car has not restarted. The field is moving on by. A real drama for one of the real contenders today. Dom's Story is still in the car. It would not restart. A safety car just 11 minutes into this 3-hour race with the David Crampton KTM in the wall at the final turn. The barriers were damaged, so we had a red flag race suspension for approximately 23 minutes, and we just were about to get restarted. Watch for pit lane next time around to potentially be quite busy as we get back to green flag racing here at Phillip Island. Restart the action for the opening round of the CAMS Australian Endurance Championship, also a round of the Australian GT Championship. Fraser Ross will lead us back to the control line. Green flags fly at the island.
Righto, the good news is the Mercedes has got going again, couple laps down, but they're back in the race. I'm expecting now a hive of activity. All the teams that started, the pro drivers are going to come in now and get their pro driver out of the car and start racking up driving time. So I expect a lot of activity to happen in pit lane.
There's a lot of strategy still to come. Whilst there's an advantage having the pro in the car more often, they have to commit 3 compulsory time pit stops. The burden on each of those cars that carries a driver like a Jamie Whincup and a Cameron McConville and a Luke Youlden is a much longer stop than some of the AM entries. Is that Jeff Emery coming down pit lane? Yes, sure he is. The race leader also down pit lane.
Also in the lane, Yasser Shahin in the 777 car, handing to Jamie Whincup.
129 entry of Tim Blanchard, another rookie in Australian GT like Jamie Whincup, just leaves pit lane.
Ryan Simpson, Tony Bates, and Barton Moore. They are actually in the motor race, 7th, 8th and 9th at the moment. So McMillan leading the way. Second is Max Twigg. He's the first of the cars to have stopped in that green Mercedes, car number 8. Tony Quinn is third. Luke Yuleland's 33 Audi has rejoined next in the queue, but he's needing to come up to speed. This is a pretty willing little fight here. This is probably the best battle pack on the track.
Or just the faintest of touches, it looked like, from Ryan Simpson onto the tail of Tony Bates. I think he's probably getting just a little bit frustrated. No doubt the team will be saying, push on, Ryan, push on, get past that Audi. You've got to get past him. We need to make up some time. Is this the opportunity? Yes. Pulls out of the slipstream, down the inside to turn 1, and he's broken clear at last. What does Ryan Simpson has? He's going to need to push on even further. Barton Moore's taken advantage of that too, ducked in behind.
We've got Garth Tander and Luke Youlden suiting up, getting ready to jump in the car, so I expect the next round of pit stops to happen pretty soon.
Max Twigg certainly doing everything he needs to do at this stage to go back-to-back in the Australian Endurance Championship. Of course, he and Tony D'Alberto were the outright winners of the 3 rounds last year. They took a win, they were consistent. Max said to me on Thursday it was about being on the podium, about being consistent. But whilst AMG have won the last 2 Australian Endurance Championship titles, Audi have been the standouts. They're the ones that have won here at Phillip Island, but they haven't been able to translate that into championship victory. Go back 3 years, it was McLaren, that fantastic 1-2 finish between Nathan Morecambe and Shane Van Gisbergen. It was about 0.2 of a second after 3 hours. Morecambe and Denyer went on to win the Endurance Championship that year, so it's been McLaren, Mercedes, but Audi, this could be their year.
The pit stop cycles have started. Max Twigg is in the lane now. Tony Quinn is also down in the lane with 1 hour and 35 minutes to go.
Tyre strategy is a big part of this, of course. The Control Pirelli DHD2 tyre. They have 4 complete sets of dry weather slicks, as many wets as they really want to use if it pours with rain, but slicks, 4 sets. Oh, almost contact. In fact, there may well have been contact. They're still battling. Gee, this is Tander versus D'Alberto. They've been in positions like this before. Let's hope there's no damage to either of those cars. I think they managed to avoid it, but no doubt the stewards too will look at that. Here's the replay. Oh, you can't get much closer than that. Just pushing the point a little.
There was a rub.
There's no, yeah, there is certainly a rub there. Hopefully no carbon fibre damage. You're not doing that with any great success at a circuit like Phillip Island. There's the release. Oh,
Now, will they be watching a car 1 for that, for the release of that?
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, that's Whincup getting around already. John Martin, slow start for John Martin coming out of pit lane. Whether he missed a gear or something happened, he just seemed to almost stall in front of Jamie Whincup there. Whincup's got around him and he's charging. Okay, this is where the pros come in their own. On fresh tyres, cold tyres, straight out the gate, you would expect on every count be much faster than John Martin, but not to that level. That was unusual.
He had a big lead coming down pit lane, so that's happened just under the bridge.
Good battle here. Tim Blanchard, still Adrian Dietz. There goes Tony D'Alberto. He's working his way forward. So Garth Tander's made the most of that restart out of pit lane. He's got ahead comfortably now of Tony D'Alberto and the WM Waste Mercedes AMG. A lot of shaking of heads, trying to work out. A lot of gesticulation, if you can read into that what you will. Clearly the car's not going anywhere. That's the bigger issue. This is going to make it very, very interesting. Where will this car come out? Because the advantage coming into pit lane was about 1 minute 17, 1 minute 22 over Adrian Dietz.
Car 6 is our race leader, Adrian Dietz, out to 68 seconds now to second place. The pit stop cycle continues here.
This is one of the pinnacle points of the race. This is the 3rd stop for both those cars. The Jamie Whincup, Yasser Shahin car, the Max Twigg, Tony D'Alberto car. AMG have been the standouts in past years. Audi have had good success here at Phillip Island. What I like at the moment, Garth Tander is up 20 seconds. It could be the year of Garth Tander and Jeff Emery in that #1 entry.
Yeah, this is where it's all heading up, isn't it? This is when everyone's doing their last pit stops. And you touched on it just before, Sean. They say the Mercedes can do 1 hour on fuel, and Jamie Whincup came in with 1 hour and 1 minute. So that will be very interesting to watch it unfold. And Garth here with an extra lap up his sleeve. It sets up for a scintillating finish to the race.
Remember, 4 sets of control tyres from the start of 2 20-minute sessions for qualifying, plus a 3-hour race. You can get a good solid hour flogging these tyres to death and they will go the distance, but they are at their peak early in the piece. So drivers like Jamie Whincup and Yasser Shahin, Whincup did 1 solitary lap of qualifying, 1 flying lap, a warm-up, a flyer and put it back into pit lane so that they can use the same set for Yasser Shahin. That gave the 777 team a green set of tyres, a fresh set of rubber, so he might be on that now. What I was interested to see was how close he was to D'Alberto when he left pit lane. Oh no, that's the problem. He's missing the right front wheel. That's not what Jamie Whincup needs. He's coming over the top of Lukey. There's been a drama potentially during the pit stop, and all that time he made up, well, that's gone. That effectively rules that team out.
We've still got Tander in the pits, that 15 seconds on top from that penalty earlier in the race.
So I think tragically we can put a line through the 777. Let's rule them out. It's the interesting one now. It comes down to the 1, it comes down to the 8. The 222 still in there potentially with Scotty Taylor and Craig Baird. But now Ryan Simpson, of course, still out there in the 59. That's the one that many collared early in this race weekend. Was going to be interesting.
Yeah, guys, just standing here watching the pit stop of Dan Gaunt, Tony Quinn car. It's actually developed an engine oil leak at the front of the car. It was smoking quite a lot. One of the crew guys on the right front has noticed an oil leak. You see oil down the side of this Aston Martin, and it looks like a bit of a terminal situation.
Here is your race leader, Ryan Simpson. Well over a lap lead at the moment, but still to pit. This number 59 McLaren.
Garth Tander has his 3 stops in the books. At the moment, he's shown as 1.7 laps down. I reckon he's got a fair bit of work to do over the next few laps. But what tyres will Fraser Ross come out on? Do they have in their bank of tyres a fresh set of rubber, or are they going to have to put together the best of what they've used across the course of the weekend? This is the race. Things are going to get very, very interesting as of now. Once that McLaren affects that stop, puts Fraser Ross behind the wheel, it's going to be game on over these closing stages, and Tander needs to keep pushing.
It has so much clear track ahead of him right now. Let's see what the lap time is for the Valvoline Audis. He crossed the line at the end of that lap. Was a 1:29.53, so about 1.2 seconds away from his fastest lap of the race, but he's running high 1:28s and early 1:29s, as many as you like. The gap is 17, make it 18 seconds now. Back to Tony D'Alberto as he crossed the line now.
We saw this from Fraser Ross during the opening round of the Australian GT Championship at Albert Park. The opening race, he could put the car anywhere he wanted. He was very racy, he was very fast, wheels on the grass, wheels over the curb. You can see he almost had like 150 more horsepower than anybody else. He could place that car wherever he wanted to. It is a brand new car. This isn't the car he ran at the Australian Grand Prix. That was a loan car from the factory. This is their very own 59 racing entry. He is pushing it very, very hard. The balance of the car is very good. This is 2019 technology. Yes, McLaren said they only had 9 months to build a car that would normally take 2 years, but so far it's proving to be very, very good. Well, he's through. Fraser Ross has charged through coming out of the final corner and got through on Tony D'Alberto. So eyes forward. That last lap, well, it was a 31.2 for D'Alberto, 30.3 still for Fraser Ross. He didn't lose too much momentum. Garth Tander, what a fantastic job. Jeff Emery too. Congratulations to the two of them. This is second victory in this event to Garth Tander. It's Audi this time round. And victory to the number 1 entry. Garth Tander and Jeff Emery take the win. For Fraser Ross coming through the final corner, a sterling drive from him to charge through to get past Tony D'Alberto just a few laps ago. Fraser Ross and Ryan Simpson will take position number 2. Tony D'Alberto and Max Twigg. Good defence of their Australian Endurance Championship title. They will take points for position number 3. John Martin, Tony Bates last year's winner, will take position 4. Luke Youlden and Vince Moridi. Well, they're up to position 5. A good run too for them, and Craig Baird moving up to position 6.
Come in here, boys. Well done. First of all, Garth, over the finish line there. Great drive today, mate. You enjoy it?
Yeah, thanks, mate. Car was awesome. Guys gave us a fantastic car. Jeff did a mega job in that first stint. The tyre deg was way higher, I reckon, than anyone was expecting. So it was like a bit of an old school supercar race. You had to manage the tyre and look after it. But it looks like our consistency was really good. So we had plenty left at the end if we needed it, but it was great.
And Jeff, you really set up the race at the start there. Great job. How was it watching on?
Yeah, look, the car was really good at the end. It made it obviously really easy for me to start, but Garth did an awesome job at the end just to bring it home. I mean, obviously we sort of rolled out a bit at the end, but fantastic job, mate. Well done.
I finished P2 was fantastic. The outright speed in terms of over a qualifying run, it was excellent. To be on pole at such a big event, the boys at 59 Racing, what a fantastic job they did, faultless. To give me the car at the end was really cool, and to chase down someone like Tony D'Alberto's calibre was really nice for me to do, and to get P2, really happy with that and really good points.
Tyre deg today, that was our biggest issue. So I think other than that, our pace was fine, but I think the Audi just stayed solid. But third's good. We third last year, and we finished on the podium every round last year, so we won it. So we're all right.